We are live. We are live this morning, y'all. Thank you so much for your patience. Let me make sure volume is all the way up. MGNE. How you doing, love? It's good to see you all.
Good morning, y'all.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. State of mind. I know for some of you, when I say state of mind, all I heard was Alicia Keys already, right? Concrete jungles where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do. Now you're in New York, right? I know I heard that when I decided to choose this topic, state of mind. Then you are in a state. Remember, Neville talks about states. Neville speaks of states. Remember, that was in the lecture from the other night. How do you recognize the state that you're in? Because he says we always have a particular home state that we return to mentally. Well, you catch it by being observant of the way you speak. See, I recorded this podcast, but I haven't posted it yet about the state. When we are in a particular state, when we are in our home state, it's the way we think all the time, the way we speak all the time, the way we behave all the time. We are in a state. And that state is natural to us because it's our home state. We've been doing it for a long time. And so that's the state you're in. So to figure it out, to see it for yourself, when you're walking somewhere, when you're going somewhere, wherever you are, you're going to say something to yourself. You are. So if you're walking on the mall, you say, oh, I don't know, man. I see the price of this thing. I can't. That's your home state. That's the state you live from. Saying, I cannot. When you go out and you meet someone and, or they're better, that's the state. It's that thing, it just comes out of you naturally. That's the state. I touched on it yesterday about being natural. That state is the way that you do things and the way that you have been doing things. Right? And so when we are in a particular state, mentally, because that's where the state is, it's the way you think, it's the way you speak, and it is the way you act. And the way to put your finger on it is when you catch yourself saying, why? Why do I always say that? Why do I always think that way? Because it repeats itself, right? It's a rhythm. It's your rhythm. You see, the state that we live from is our rhythm. The way we do things, the habitual way we do things, that particular habit that you've been doing for so long. And the thing is, you're blind to it, but you can see it. You're blind to it because you've been doing it for so long. It's second nature to you. That's why you're blind to it. But you see it because you ask yourself, wait, why did I do that? So you see, paradoxically, you're seeing it, but you're not. It is when you now become aware of what it is and that state that you're in, you can catch yourself. And when Neville says, you can change that state right away. And he gives us a bridge to do it with. Because when you're in a particular state, you see from that state, you hear from that state, you speak from that state, right? And so when you're seeing the thing that you want to create, right? He says to you, what would it be like if you had this thing you wanted? Right there and then, the moment you do that, what would it be like if? When you stop and ask yourself that question and you answer that question by way of the law of vibration, you have to raise your vibration to even see the new state. Because that's where it puts you naturally. The moment you go into that state and you can imagine what it would be like, you see how it makes you feel when you begin to imagine what it would be like? You just, quote unquote, raised your vibration. How did you raise it? You moved yourself from where you were and you put yourself where you wanted to be by imagining it, by answering that question. And remember, you've already engaged polarity. You have now engaged rhythm. You disrupted your old pattern. You disrupted the old way that you used to think. And what he's saying to you about that state is, when you disrupt the old, how long can you hold on to the new one? Hmm? How long can you remain there? How long can you sustain that new state? Because it is in the sustaining of that new state, first of all, as soon as you flip over to it, as soon as you go from where you were to where you want to be mentally, as soon as you get there, you physically feel it in your body. It feels good to your body. That's the confirmation, the corresponding, right? Let me say it again. Where he says to you, what would it be like if you now have lifted yourself from wherever you were? You've lifted yourself from there. And you're looking at yourself in the new place. You've changed states. But you see, sometimes we get a little tired and we let go. And we drop back to where we were. You know, because it's a habit. It's easy to slip into it. But now, the work is holding on to that new state. And so every time you ask yourself, what would it be like if, and you start to imagine and you feel it, you've elevated yourself, you've moved yourself. And so now the practice would be, this is why he says to persist. Persist in what? Holding on to the new state. Why? Because the longer you hold on to it, the more frequently you return to the new state, you're going to have a new set point. Pretty soon, that old state that used to rule you, you're going to replace it with what? The new one. That's what you're going to do. You're going to replace it. And it's one of those things where sometimes, let me see if I can find the right story for you. When you feel, right? Man, I really can't do this. I don't know how. When you feel that way or you feel discouraged, stop right there in the middle of that. Stop right there and say, whoa, wait a minute. What do I want? It's funny because I got a couple messages this morning, and this is why I say I love all of you. This one message that came, he said to me, yesterday was a dark day, but I remembered, where are you now? What are you doing? What would I prefer to feel instead? And he got into that sensation of what would it be like. And he said, Angela, I did a complete 180. Thank you for doing what you do. And I was like, yeah, but you were the one who asked that question and answered it. That's what I'm trying to tell you this morning. You don't have to remain where you are. If you look at it and you smell it and you go, ooh, you make my eyes water, honey. You know me, because it doesn't smell good. What would you prefer? Get there right away. As my bestie would always say, turn on a dime. Turn on a dime. What would it be like if? And the reason why I love the way Neville phrased that is because it is easier to hear that than it is to hear, change your polarity. That is how the KYBALION explains it to us. To change something, change your rate of vibration is what it tells you. But to hear that, you're like, how? And that's why Neville makes it simpler when he says, what would it be like if? Because in order for you to elevate your state, to go to a new state altogether, you have to engage with it. And to engage with it, you say, what would it be like if? And you start to feel it. You've now engaged with the new way of thinking. And so now he says to you, how long can you hold that for? And that's why he tells us to persist. Persist in that new way. It's okay. That's why we have a natural ebb and flow of things. You can't always hold on to it. You're not always going to be happy. But the one thing that keeps us anchored and secure is that we can ask that question. What would it be like if? We can change our vibration, our polarity, our rhythm. We can disrupt the old way of doing things by asking and answering that question. What would it be like? And that question, and that's why I love his story with the little boy and the dog. That's why I love that story. That question is so simple that a child can do it. What would it be like if? My word, you know how they love to play around in that imagination, don't we? They do it so much more freely than we adults do sometimes. And so when you get a hold of yourself, this is why we don't complain. What do you want instead? Because you can see clearly what you don't want because you're in the midst of it. And so to release yourself from the midst of it, changing your state, ask, what would it be like if I had this new thing? And you allow it to wash over you so you can feel it. That's what you do with it. You fully immerse yourself in it because in so doing, the moment you flip from that old state to the new, well then, now that you've repolarized yourself, you're pointing in the new direction, things come to you from that state because that's what you want. And then some of us will say, oh my God, that happened so quickly. That changed so quickly. Yeah, because you allowed yourself to fully engage with what would it be like if. You didn't complain about where you were. You saw and you said, no, I don't, and I will accept. What would it be like? I'm going to accept that one instead. You see, she said to me this morning, how can you change if you don't change? I like that. And it's only practice.
I'll
Go
say
ahead.
this also, right?
Go ahead, Marquise.
When you look at a state that you don't desire, when you simply say, that's not where I am, that literally has so many meanings because simply, you know that that's not a state that I am would desire for you. It has so many meanings. That's not where I am. A simple denial of the state and an embracement of where you truly want to be, and it's actually where you truly are. Because once you embrace the feeling, that's all there is.
See? And that's why I love it when you share with us, Marquise. Because it's, I'll say this. Sometimes, I know it is easy for me to interpret the law sometimes. Yes. But where we require it is in the experiences that people have so that they can take it bite-sized and relate to it. Because this is why sometimes people struggle with the interpretation of the law itself, because they can't put it into real world practice. And that's why these interactions that I have with you on a daily basis, right, shows each and every one of us how to do it from a real world perspective of life experience so that we can say, oh, so that's what you do, right? Because you don't have to sit there and say, oh, I don't want to be here. answer the question then. Where do you want to be? And most people don't know they can ask themselves that question. Where would I prefer to be? What would it be like if I were there? And when you begin now to do that, you absolutely, Marquise, you reject where you are by accepting where you want to be instead. And it is the most beautiful thing, because now you don't have to languish. Now you don't have to suffer, because what did Marquise just say to you? That feeling is all there is. And the body, when you tell it, ooh, this feels good, your body says, ooh, we're doing this now. And you lift yourself from that old state to a new feeling. And then as soon as you listen, Esther Hicks describes it in a cool way too. When you take the bend out of the hose, the water rushes out. That's what you've just done. When you say, what would it be like if? You are unbending the hose and you're allowing things to flow, because you're seeing in a different light, a different perspective. You have repolarized yourself. You've gone through all 7 principles right there. You changed your mind, your perception of it. And as within, so without, because you had to move the vibration, yeah? You changed your polarity, thereby disrupting the rhythm that you always have done, so that the new cause you implied and implemented can bring about a new effect and cause you to act a new way so you can experience the effect. Why? Because you generated a new thought in your mind and you projected it outward into the womb of your subconscious mind. That is what you've done. But to truly grasp what you've done, you needed to hear it from Marquise. You hear what it is? When the moment you ask yourself, what would it be like if I had it? Well, it would be like this, and then I would behave like this, and all of a sudden your body says, ooh, as Dula would say, ooh, child, this feels good. Yes, that's what Dula would say, because I'm hearing her in my head this morning. And that's how it is. This is how we apply the law. You don't, and even if I'm reading what the better man says, he said he would apply the law to major things, but he has to remember that all things are major, and you use it for all things. Not just little or big things, everything. Nothing is big, nothing is small. It simply is, where are you? What need is required to be filled at the moment? That's what it is. The judgment of, is it big, is it small? That judgment right there sometimes will prevent us from answering the question, what would it be like if? So to catch that state that you are in, your home state, the one you return to most frequently, the one you've practiced, your habit, right? To break that habit, I don't like saying break, let's say disrupt, or to create a new habit, you have to do the new, which is, what would it be like if? Pay attention to when you ask that question. Pay attention to your body. Because when you ask that question, just like the little boy did with the dog, he fully immersed himself in it. What would it be like if I had my border collie? And then he started to do what? Create the scene of falling asleep with his dog in his bed. He didn't care what his mother said. Well, we can't have a dog. We don't have space. He didn't take any of that into account. He just said, the dog. I have a dog. That's what he said to himself. Why would he say that? Because in his mind, he created the scene of having the dog. And he allowed that scene. He fully immersed himself in that scene. To do what? Experience his dog, regardless of what his senses told him, regardless of what his mother said to him. Not that she didn't love him or she wanted to discourage him. That's not what she was doing. She was looking at the lens of her state. Her state was, we cannot, because we're not equipped. That was her state. But he elevated his state and he said, it's okay. I know how I'll get my dog. And he elevated his state. Day in and day out, he would fall asleep with that dog in his bed, in his mind's eye, because he engaged the, what would it be like if? Oh, like Elvira, I will hug him and I love him. I'm squeezing him. I'll call him George. Fully immersed in the new state. And when you do that, look at what happened to him. Remember, a contest? Well, how coincidental, you would say. No, he brought about the cause because he knew the effect that he wanted to experience. So today, whatever state of mind that you may catch yourself in, pay attention to it. Don't entertain it if it is not where you want to be, because then the body responds and say, "Oh, more of this? Let's get her done." And that's what happens. So if that's in a low state, well, then you've got to continually experience what you're dealing with now. But it doesn't matter if you feel foolish when you ask the question, what would it be like if? The reason I know we all do it, I'll give you this example of we all do it. We've all shopped at one point in time. Whether you're a boy or a girl, you've shopped and you had a particular thing that you purchased. You purchased it because you saw yourself in your imagination go through every single outfit that that one piece would fit into. What would it be like if? That's exactly what you did. What would it be like if I put it with this outfit? It fit. You did it. This outfit. You did it. This outfit. You went through how many outfit changes? All in your mind with that one piece? And you turned and twisted this way and that in the mirror in the store. And you said, that's the piece I'll buy because you saw yourself with that thing and interacting with it in all other aspects of your life, every single outfit. You don't know where you're going to wear those outfits, but you've seen them all and you've put them all together. You fully engaged with them. You breathed life into every single outfit you just did mentally. So you see, if you can do it with a piece of clothing, a pair of shoes, a pair of pants, a new hat, a new bag, a new tie. If you can do it there, well, then you can do it with a different attitude. Where can I use this attitude? And begin to see yourself using the attitudes and how people would see you as you use the attitude. All in your mind's eye. So it doesn't matter if you say, well, I feel kind of funny doing it. I feel like I'm pretending. No, you're making yourself believe in the new way of being, is what you're doing. That's what you are doing on a daily basis. When you answer the question, what would it be like if I had it? Do you realize how many senses you have to go through just to bring that up? What would it be like if I had it? What would I say? Oh, I'd say this and I'd say it like this. Oh, I would laugh this way. I would do this. And now it looks like it's in your imagination. But as I said, you've worn that piece. You've worn that piece of clothing with how many outfits? And you haven't even left the store. So then do the same thing. It is interchangeable. Instead of a hat, give it an attitude. What new attitude can you see yourself using? Where can you use it? How are you going to interact with others as you use it? See, there's nothing in this world that does not teach you how to apply the law if you would allow yourself. Don't judge yourself and say, oh my God, I feel childish doing this. No, a little child shall lead them. Why? Because they teach you how to be free. They teach you how to be unencumbered. They haven't lived long enough to pick up the nonsense and the judgments. So go back to that state. Be like a child in that fashion of the newness of a thing and fully engaging with it. That's how we move ourselves from one state to another, day in and day out. Right? What would it be like if that is what we do on a daily basis? And when I say to you, it is easy and it is fun, I'm not kidding. I'm being very for real when I say, for real, for real. It is easy and it is fun to get into your imagination just like that child does, and they throw on that new scarf that you just brought home from the store, and they're traipsing all through the house with it. Why? Because it is something different. It's not a scarf anymore. It is a new experience for them. They are in the state of what would it be like if they've elevated themselves, and they're having fun doing it, are they not? So for you today and for me today, when we ask ourselves, what would it be like if, know that you are changing from where you currently are to where you want to be. That's what you're doing by way of law. The law is always at work. And Neville's just making it easier for you to do it, to employ the law for your greatest and highest good. Because why? We are meant to live a life of abundance. Abundance doesn't just mean cha-ching, money in the bank. It doesn't just mean that. It means health. It means your mental health, not being affected by the things of the world, but causing things in the world to change. That is how we are meant to be living, day in and day out. So get a hold of the state that you're currently in when you look at it. Look at it. You could see it as a diaper, a blowout one, those nice ones. Yeah, those. You could look at it and go, yeah, this is not for me. Don't complain about how bad it smells. You know it smells bad, but you say, that is not for me. But what would it be like if I had what I wanted? That you turn away from the thing that is offensive and you embrace the thing that soothes. Just a simple turning away from. Why? Because Neville says things wither and die for want of attention. That, my beautiful friends, this morning, I trust it makes it simpler for us to grasp what a state of mind is. I trust that it does. Let me take a moment to welcome everyone into the space this morning. Hello, Tiffany and Javion. I see you. Hey, C-Staff. Twitter, I see you all. It is good to see you. Truly, it is. Facebook, we've got Indy, YouTube, Renee. Hello, sweetie. It is good to see you. A not the better man. And for the others who've not made themselves known in the chat, I see you also. And then on Fanbase, who's in the house? Amina, Afternoon Delight, Dawn, Flo Smiles, Stephanie, James, My Melanin, Mgenie, Kay, KZ, Marquise, Zola, Miss McQueen. I see you all here this morning. It truly is a privilege to spend time with each and every one of you. You see, when you learn and you get something that's been plaguing you for a while, when you finally see what it it moves you to change, you understand? And that change, it does something to you, right? That's why I strongly encourage us to remove the judgment. If you see, I will use a prescription pair of lenses, then your glasses, if you wear them, you can only see that prescription. So if that is the judgment that you are looking through, that lens, it will cause you to see it through the lens of judgment, and you will feel as if you are being judged. And if you feel as if you're being judged, what's the first thing you do? Freak out. Yeah, you do. In that state of judgment. So it is always in our best interest to banish judgment. You do not judge the information. You don't judge the person. You simply look at it and you say, hey, wait a minute. Remember your harvest, first of all, Neville, right? Remember, that thing is coming to you because the seed you planted. It is not a judgment. It is answering you because you were the one who asked the question. So then you see the answer. You say, oh, snap, I see what you're saying to me. I get it. Let me adjust accordingly. And that is always our opportunity to change, always our opportunity to grow. That is the grace that the law gives on a daily basis because it rains on the righteous as well as the wicked. And it is always there for you to use for your betterment, not better than George or Susan or Karen, but better than you were prior. Why? Because we're not meant to stay as we are. We move from state to state. We are climbing. And so when we change in a great way, we've stepped up, we ascend, and now we see things differently again. And we learn and we adapt and we change again. We cannot remain the same. We cannot. And that's why the law elevates you on a daily basis if you would allow it. All for your greatest and highest good. Why? Because that's what you're meant for. Greatness. And I know sometimes we may not see that greatness, but what would it be like if I were living this life of greatness? What would it be like? How would you behave? Fully allow yourself to engage in that new state, and you will unbend the hose and all of the things that you have stopped up along the way like a beaver, because you know how they are. They put the dam, they build dams. That's all they do. They build dams. These guys are experts at building dams. Whether it is beneficial to you or not, they will build it. Right? But you want to open up the dam that you've built so you can reap the benefit of it. And to open it up, you change the state. What would it be like if? Open up. Open it up. But don't judge yourself. Don't feel like, oh my God, I feel so funny doing that. Don't feel that way. Because think about it. Who cares what that feels like when you've just opened up the floodgates and bam, all the things you said that you wanted to create in your life just come rushing in. And you're like, whoa, 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 slow down, slow your roll, baby. I'm drowning here in all these good things. Come on, that's what you want, right? Why? What's that scripture? Won't I open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing on you? Hello. But we hold ourselves apart from those blessings when we languish in the old state. And remember, the old state is familiar and it feels good because it is familiar. The familiarity of cussing somebody out, calling them out their name, because why not? It feels good. I don't care. I got time today. These things we say to ourselves, not knowing that we are the ones holding ourselves back. That is why you want to release yourself from that state. And the way to release yourself is, what would it be like if? You have to let go of the old when you ask that question and fully immerse yourself in the new state. That, my beautiful friends, is the law and the beauty of it. And that's why when I say it doesn't care, if you want to give it a personality, fine, go ahead. It's telling you what? Hey, let that thing go. That's not good enough for you anymore. You used to be there, but you're not there anymore. How about this one? Isn't this one better? Don't you like the way this one feels? Oh, that's what it's saying to you. So then go with that. Don't hold yourself in an undesirable state just because I've done it that way my whole life. Well, if you keep doing it the same way you've always done, you must continue doing it the same way you always done it. And then what do? We have the audacity to say, why does this always seem to happen to me? Because you keep doing it the same way every time. Change is your friend. It's nothing to be afraid of. You know exactly how it's going to turn out. Well, how do you know? Because you're the one saying, what would it be like if? Well, you've just told yourself how it will turn out. So what do you mean you don't know how it's going to turn out? You just told yourself how it will. By showing yourself and feeling exactly how it's going to turn out.
Hey, we're all clairvoyant.
All right then. All right then. We're all prophets. Because when you know the cause, you can predict the effect. Yeah, you're predicting. Yes, Marquise. Exactly. That's what the law causes us to become. Think about that for a moment. As you go through your day today, you are vividly aware of where you currently are. Oh, yes, vividly aware of where you are and what you're doing. If that is no longer serving you, whew, there's that word. If it is no longer beneficial to you, don't complain that it is no longer beneficial. Recognize that it is no longer beneficial, and then fully engage in what would it be like in the new beneficial. Go there and begin, because it causes you to ask yourself and to see yourself in a new way. Well, it would be like this, and I would do this, and I would do that, and I would do this. Whoo, and then the feeling totally overtakes you, and you become fully engaged in that feeling, thereby bringing about the cause of your change, because you're fully immersed in the effect. See? You're using the law every day. That is what I wanted to share with you this morning. Get into the habit of doing it. Get into the habit of doing it. Because then what happens? That is a habit that is beneficial. Always catch yourself without judgment. Without judgment. Simply with grace. Just with grace. To remind yourself, you know what? I am meant for greater things. I am meant to live a beautiful life. But what if you don't believe it? Doesn't matter if you believe it or not. What would it be like if? Because then you make yourself believe it. That, my beautiful friends. Hey, Joaquin. Jeff, I see you. Yes, that, my beautiful friends, is how we change from one state to another. What would it be like if? Just a simple thing. A simple thing. Because the law is simple and easy to apply. It is only our perception sometimes when we say, but that's so hard to do. That's your perception. Test it. Because the more you test it, well, then you practice it, right? And the more you practice, what happens to you? The thing you practice becomes easier to do. That, my beautiful friends, is how we change ourselves from where we are to where we want to be. That is the beauty of the law. Day in and day out. Let me get the bowl for us so we can sit in those moments and just, as a good friend used to say, let it percolate. Just let it percolate for you. Yeah, I love you so much. And believe me, I know, because I feel it from you. When you say, or what you think towards me, it doesn't stay in your mind. It comes towards me. All your good wishes, your good intentions, they're felt, they're received. Appreciate that. Let me get the bowl. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2. Tiffany. Oh, Javion. And say hello to your mother, dearest. I love you and thank you for being here. And I'll see you tonight, if you're available, for the Neville Goddard lecture. I have it posted. I just don't remember the name of the title. But it has to do with states. It is called Where Are You Staying? Fancy that. Much love to you, Miss Tiffany. And say hello to Javion. Twitter is closed. YouTube and Facebook. Jeff, you're correct. Practice is how we experience confidence. Joaquin, Renee Aynot, the better man. Thank you all for being here. What a beautiful day. I love you all, and I'll see you tonight.